Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you may be. Welcome to this collaboration between Gunners Short and Chakra News. I'm Sandeep Unnithan. I'm joined by Lieutenant General PR Shankar. Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Hi, morning, Sandeep. Thanks a lot. It's Saturday morning show
Yes,
and
and
weekend show. And
we are back again to talk about a few things about uh, Gen Naravne's unpublished memoirs. Of course, we'll talk about that. But zooming out from just the memoirs to go into the larger issue of why China did what it did in 2020. I'll be asking you, sir, about this. There are lots of unanswered questions, at least in my mind, why they did it. And of course, there's that new report that's just come out. The US has put out something about China actually conducting a nuclear test just a few days after the Galwan standoff with India, where that clash. So, without much ado, let's get into this thing of the book. Of course, we will come to, but before that, General Shankar, May 2020, I want you to explain to us why the Chinese did what they did. And I want to tell our viewers this, that once again, when I remember in those days, about 6 years back, when I called General Shankar and I asked him, what's your appreciation of this? Do you think the Chinese have come for an invasion? And he just brushed it off. He said that it doesn't look like an invasion, it's just a usual coercion tactics, but this time with armor and with artillery and with larger numbers, two divisions there. And his appreciation was spot on, because he said, I said, what do you base it on? He said, the thing is that these guys, the PLA, have not dug in for a conflict. Looking at the photographs, it doesn't seem like they're there for a long haul, for a conflict where you would have gun emplacements and all of those things. It seemed like one of those regular things, but with a little more force. And that, of course, created many issues of the kind that General Naravne has brought out in his yet unpublished memoirs. It's been raised by the opposition in parliament. It's led to some ugly exchanges there. We'll talk about all that. But General Shankar, this whole thing, why China did what it did in so many places around the LAC? Why did they tear up, several decades of peace and tranquility agreements on the LAC?
yeah, the exact. Thanks a lot, Sandeep, for giving that thing. And if you remember, at that time itself, I said the words I used was this is belligerent war avoidance. If you remember,
Belligerent war avoidance. I remember
war
that. Yeah.
avoidance, right? I was very clear at that time itself. And before I answer this question as to why they did what they did in 2020, okay, let me give you an overview. Let everyone get an overview as what has happened between India and China on the LAC.
Right.
See, getting that into picture is very important to understand why they did in 2020. Okay, I mean we are looking at a time when around that time there was this border peace and tranquility agreement on the border was quiet. We had come to some kind of a modus vivendi with China, how to handle LAC, no transgressions and all that. Minor things were happening, and then people used to go back. And in fact, when Mr. Rajiv Gandhi went to meet Deng Xiaoping long back, and followed up by the agreement between Mr. Vajpayee and Jiang Zemin, uh, what happened? These two agreements are important. MOU in 2003, they are important. Uh, a major thing happened in this whole story is uh, both China and India decided we'll not touch the border issue. Even Deng Xiaoping had said we'll leave it to the next generation and history to decide and all that. It's too complicated. And it had enabled us to shift troops from the northeast to tackle Pakistan at that time. I still remember General Brar, right? Who was later the Eastern Army commander. And, he coming to staff college and telling us all this. And I'm now talking of 91, huh? 91.
Right.
Okay, when he was the army commander, and he's saying, "Look, we've had a talk with the Chinese. There's going to be no problem on the LAC, and we want to develop. That's the time when Deng Xiaoping came and Rajiv Gandhi had just come back. Uh, and we have taken troops from the northeast to the valley, aid them. The same thing which acted in Kargil finally, So
Right.
all this happened, and after that also things were cool. But come 2017, things start happening. Okay, first let's understand what happened, and then we'll. I am critically choosing 2017 because earlier they were probing things, but
Right.
okay. Let me get to that main thing first. Right. Look, I'm giving you an overview. The first thing which happened was in 2017, Doklam.
Right.
So the Chinese came, they wanted to get over Doklam, make enlarge, get over into the Jamferi Ridge out there, and so that they can threaten the Siliguri corridor. Okay, 2017. Then 2020, whatever happened, whether it was in Galwan, whether in Chushul Gap or the Spanggur Gap, that is Kailash Ranges, Pangongso, Demchok, Hot Springs, Gogra, that was a packet. Okay, and then you look at this thing after 2020. The next attempt was in 2022 at a place called Yangtze. Very important. Okay, uh, very important. That was a major attempt, December 22. And the last attempt was in 2024 at Chumar.
Right.
Okay. This didn't get much attention because we snapped it at the beginning itself. So actually, if you see the span of from 2017 to 24, 7 years the Chinese have been at it. Okay. Now let me say why this happened. This happened because of whatever happened in Doklam. And why
Right.
did Doklam happen? That's the next question. Why did Doklam happen? So I'll right. The thing one needs to understand is Xi Jinping took over in 2012. He was a man in a hurry.
Right.
At that time, China was at its peak. It was growing at 10% per annum. Though we were growing, we had 2010. You remember Manmohan Singh's last 10, 11, 12.
UPA 2 last year
Uh,
was.
वो कोयला आवंटन का problems and all that,
Yeah.
coal
Yeah.
mine thing, all that. It was a mess. We
Scams.
were in a
Yeah. It
mess,
was a governance mess
right?
actually.
We were in a complete mess, and China was on the ascendancy, and people were talking of PLA being very strong, very equipped, all that, and that hubris. And there was a fundamental thing about saying that Indian army is weak, ill-equipped, poorly equipped. All these things were there in the air. Okay, go back. And if you remember 2014, Xi Jinping came. When Xi Jinping came first time to Ahmedabad, when Mr. Narendra Modi had just taken over,
Yeah.
he was sitting in Sabarmati. They were swinging, taking a thing on a
Yeah.
jula.
Yeah.
Right? That's the first trip. But when that was happening, there was a patrol sitting in Depsang inside.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, people thought, oh, this was by some mistake and all. I think that was a probe.
Right.
That was a probe
He
to
was
see
trying
how
to
India
test
will react.
Prime Minister Modi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then things didn't go well. I mean, uh, after the whole thing, Xi Jinping went back, and that patrol went back, and everything was normal. I think at that time they came to some conclusion that look, India is weak.
Hmm.
Okay, and many media reports, everything, and whole lot of problems with us. New prime minister, he probably didn't know what he was actually getting into. I mean, let's grant it, he was also not too thick. Then he probably would have felt somewhere. There were a couple of meetings, a lot of meetings between Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi from 14 to 17. About 6, 7 of them were there. He would have made an assessment that India is weak.
Hmm.
They tried 2017 Doklam, and we stopped them, and that became an international issue. Over 30,
Right.
35 days, if I remember, we held on and
Yeah.
they held
Yeah.
on,
It
and
is a
then
standoff. It is a proper standoff. Yeah.
a proper standoff, and you know, then finally people uh, went back, and they went back. Of course, later they expanded on the other side, which was of no consequence. That's okay. Okay. But I think there the PLA felt slighted, Xi Jinping felt slighted. How can Indian army do this to us? How can India do this to us? We are the stronger economy. We are the
Yeah.
stronger military power. We are competing with USA, not India. So we have to teach India a lesson, a military
Mm.
lesson. Okay, it was there. And if you remember, immediately after this Doklam incident, there were, Prime Minister went to Wuhan. There was a informal summit held in Wuhan, and a lot of commentary at that point of time said, "Look, India is trying to patch up the problem,
Yeah.
and India, as if India is a supplicant,
Right.
right?" And the confidence matter. I mean, let me be very honest. The the political confidence was not there in India, nor was the military confidence. But I think around 2017, that was a time when Bipin Rawat, my good old friend, late friend, he was the chief. He had his ideas clear. Because by then we were on the resurgence. And I'm
Right.
privy to certain things, which I can't talk here. Okay, we had, and just before that, in 2015, we had carried out a raid in Myanmar.
Yeah.
And we
Cross
destroyed a
border
lot of
radius. Yeah.
cross-border raid, and some confidence was there. Ammunition was made up. We were in good nick. And just the year before that was that the thing into Balakot had happened.
Mm.
All this, a lot of things were in place when 2017 happened. And PLA, one of the things why they did what they did in 2017 was they felt that in Balakot, whatever happened, or I wouldn't say Balakot, the first surgical strikes which happened, sorry,
16,
Balakot happened
2016.
later,
Post
2016,
Uri. Yeah.
post Uri. They felt that Indian army was not up to it, and there was a lot of opposition which said this was fake and all that,
Mm.
and the PLA fell for it. So their assessment of what India will do was wrong to start with in 2017. When what we did in 2017, I think their assessment became even more, skewed.
Mm.
They thought this is a one-off affair. India has to be taught a lesson.
Right.
Okay, and in one of the meetings, Xi Jinping was forcing a solution on the LAC, and hence, uh, this attempt at uh, in Eastern Ladakh. See, which was the place where there was maximum disagreement on the
Right.
LAC. That is in Eastern Ladakh.
Right.
So they, I think, very clearly decided that Eastern Ladakh is the place where we have to seek a decision and force a solution. Or DSDBO road had also started coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was threatening, and we've been building feeder roads to the LAC, right? So that
From
threat, they said,
DSDBO.
yeah, DSDBO to Galwan, DSDBO to Gogra and Hot Springs, DSDBO to, yeah, and DBO to ahead. Okay, so they were quite perturbed. They said, "Look, we should stop this, get our LAC, and if Xi Jinping gets hold of the LAC the way it was designed by Mao, or rather, what's that fellow? His
Yeah. This the Prime Minister. The
Prime Minister.
uh,
Okay, and we're forgetting. It's okay, right? If that LAC of 1959 they could get hold of, just
yeah.
look at what it would do to Xi Jinping's stature.
Right.
It would reinforce China as the sole power in Asia. Put down India. It then coerces everyone else to say, "Look, I can sort out India. Who are you?"
Right. Right.
It puts China in a great position to tackle Taiwan. Also, one has to remember the historical context. By 2000, between 2010, 15, 16, they had got hold of those islands in South China Sea.
Right. They were artificial islands, the man-made islands.
Artificial islands. Okay. So those artificial islands, let me show this. Yeah. These artificial islands which were there in this area, they had built by then. And they said, look, if USA couldn't hold us, how can
Right.
India hold us? Right. All these factors said, look, let's take a thing and let's do what we have to do. And that's how they came into Eastern Ladakh. Okay. And we know Eastern Ladakh from April 2020 to the end of that year, we pushed them back. I mean, that we can talk in detail. First, they came in. I mean, they came in at Galwan, they came in at Hot Springs, they came in at Pangong So, they came in.
Simultaneous
Yeah,
ingress.
but
Yeah,
all their
scale.
actions were north of Pangong So.
Right.
South of Pangong So, they didn't want to touch.
That's a very important thing. Yeah, all north of Pangong.
North of Pangong So. Okay, they wanted to force a solution there, pose a threat to DBO, because if you come to Depsang, where they did come, all that, right? And they did something in Demchok, because again, Demchok, they were vulnerable. Okay. So they did all this. And they also did something in Sikkim,
Right.
at Nakula. At the same time, there was a patrol incident in Nakula where one of our majors knocked the Chinese off, and they didn't go through there because by then they had got some success of here.
Right.
Right. It was all simultaneous. So, well, it happened. And then we did what we had to do. Galwan happened. We gave them a good knock. All the tent removal, all that happened. Then Corps Commanders meeting took place. Corps Commanders meeting took place before Galwan. Corps Commanders meeting took place after Galwan, and then they were not budging. They had put Chinese maps on the bay, on the banks of Pangong So, and had shown it all over the world that we are here. This is China. Very important. They had virtually declared sovereignty over there.
Right.
And then Kailash Range, we did a QPQ, okay,
Quid pro quo.
quid pro quo. Sorry, I keep making some quid pro quo. Then they had to go back. When they went back, we know that, right? But
this is the 30th of August, 2020.
Yeah, August. We did it, and then we spoke, and then the disengagement took place South Bank, not North Bank. North Bank, there was still this thing.
Six, those 6 fingers that were
the disengagement happened South Bank completely, in Rechinla, Zangla area, in the Spanggur Gap. That North Bank of Pangong So, only the North Bank there was disengagement between finger 4 and finger 8.
Right.
But ahead in Gogra, Hot Springs, and Galwan, disengagement had. Gogra and Hot Springs, it had not happened. Galwan, it happened. Okay. And Demchok also, it had not happened. Okay. Then comes this thing that, again, a very I wouldn't say interesting, very significant thing. Okay. Is this what happened here in 2022?
Right.
One has to understand. They came in at Yangtze.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't stop there. They came in at Yangtze. And they were forcing a solution in Yangtze. They wanted to get across the LAC. Because in this sector, there was no place they could, one of the things in Arunachal Pradesh and in Tawang sector is all the dominating heights are held by Indian Army.
Right.
They're not, and they wanted a place, and the place was Yangtze. And they tried something very thing. And I want to show you, see, this is what happened in Yangtze. They came, and it was a scuffle. Have a look at this so that you understand. This is what they came with this strength. It was an in-strength action.
That's a large number. I think it's almost more than a company's strength.
Huge number. So I'll stop it here and I'll explain
Yeah.
to you. You see, they came in a huge number. You see the kind of reinforcements which were there here and here. Nearly about 300-400 people came, and it was a proper planned attack to get
Mm.
across Yangtze.
Right.
Okay, it was not a simple thing, and we pushed them back completely. I'd like to show something else after this. What is Yangtze all about? Why,
Mm.
why did they come here? One has to understand. This map. See, this is the LAC. This is Boomla. The LAC goes like this. Okay, this is Yangtze. Why is Yangtze important? Because from Yangtze you get a sight into Sela. See, this is
Right.
the Boomla ridge line. This is the Sela ridge line, and this is
Right.
Tawang here.
And we are building a
Okay,
tunnel there, right? The Sela Pass.
yeah, Sela, we
We
have built a
just built.
tunnel. It's true.
We just built it.
But
Yeah.
yeah, the thing is here. The interesting part is here. Okay. See, this is the place where the clash took place. This is the
Yeah.
Yangtze sector. There was Zekyong here. Sorry, this is the clash area. There's a waterfall here, which is supposed to be holy and all that. Right. Right. And this is the place where there's a clash. They've built a village out here. They've built roads, everything. This is the LAC. But let me show you the next thing. See, I'm showing it to you from the other side, from the other part. This is the LAC. Okay.
This is
Now,
the
and
from the Chinese perspective. Is it?
this is a Chinese perspective. This
Right.
goes like this. This is the LAC. This is Boomla, and it goes here. Now the thing is, why did they want to get here? Because from Yangtze you can see Sela.
Mm.
See, between Boomla and Sela, there's a river. I'll explain to you. See, this is the Tawang River. Okay, and this is at a height. This is a ridge line. And actually, once you cross Sela Tunnel, you go down and then you climb up to the LAC. Now, these chaps from here, they can get here. And if you can dominate this Sela Pass and this road which comes down, then any reinforcement which comes into this area can be choked off.
Right.
Okay. And that's what they tried in 2014. Sorry, 2020. 22. Yeah. Okay. And we kicked them back, which is very important to understand what we have done. People don't understand this, right? And interestingly, after this, they tried once more. It's not as if they've given up. They've tried once more. When they came here, they came to Chumar. They wanted to build a road. And Chumar also, there were problems earlier. I'm not going into the
Right.
details. They tried to build a road here, in which we went and put a bulldozer there, and after that, the whole thing fizzled out. So they've been at it from 2017 to 2024, and we've beaten them back throughout.
Right.
Okay. Now it's very clear that they want to get hold of the situation, put us in a disadvantageous position somewhere or the other, and so that they can bargain from a position of advantage.
So the villages also is part of that strategy, right? Those border villages
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they
yeah. The
ghost
border,
villages that they built.
yeah. The border villages,
Hundreds of
everything
them.
is part of
Yeah.
the strategy. Okay, to create a base. There are no villages.
Right.
No one comes and stays there.
No one stays
To
there.
create
They're
a
all empty
base,
houses. Yeah.
yeah. To create a base from where you can, actually go across. It's a logistics base. Let's be very clear.
Right.
Call it a village, but it's a logistics base. Now, so 2020 is critical. 17 we blocked. 2020, when they came in
Yeah.
April, May, that was a time when, that was before Galwan also. They came
Yeah.
in strength. There were petrol clashes and all that.
May 2020.
May 2020. When they came and did what they did, they had ascendancy. We weren't
Right.
surprised because we were stuck with COVID,
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
issues, right? They didn't expect us to react the way we did. We did that, and we pushed them back and showed to the whole world we can do what we have to do.
Right.
And that Indian army is not a pushover, right? And they went back. They had to go back. They had no choice. But they
Right.
didn't let off. They tried again in 2022 and then
Hmm.
2024. After that last incident at Chumar, which I think is I wouldn't say a minor, but where we scotched it at we nipped it at the bud.
Nipped it in the
They have
bud.
not
Yeah.
tried anything.
Right.
Okay. So the fact is that over a period of years, we've got ascendancy on them in over the LAC. We've gained that.
Right.
Now they dare not try anything because if they do, they will get it on their neck. And
Right.
next time we might do a QPQ on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But Ladakh being Ladakh, Eastern Ladakh being what happened because there are a lot of casualties there and everything.
Right. Right.
It's come in news.
Yeah.
What people don't understand, after this we can switch to Ladakh, but what people don't
Yeah.
understand is so far the way we have handled PLA over from 2017 to now,
Yeah.
no other country has done that. We've kicked them back everywhere, right?
Hmm.
Even America looked the other way when they took over those South China Sea islands,
Yeah. When they.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, wherever China has gone, they've not gone back. Even go back to the Korean War. The Chinese pushed the Americans back from Yalu to 30th parallel.
Yeah.
Okay,
Where
right?
they
They
remain
had
till date.
this, and they had this great thing that 62 we destroyed the, we defeated the Indian army conclusively. We did, which they did. So they have this thing on their head, and they have this mistaken impression that economies will win wars and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think a major thing with so if you see in the context of what has happened, what
Yeah.
we did in 2020 was actually a turning point in the military history between India and China.
So that's very important. Yeah. To understand that the way we stood up, you're saying from right from 2017, there's been a pattern of aggression
Yeah.
and
In fact,
proactive
now,
war avoidance.
yeah, they're trying. This is the way Chinese try small things, get the foothold, then expand. Salami slicing, typical
Salami
salami
slicing.
slicing.
Yeah.
Okay, they tried. They've tried and failed. They've tried and failed 4 times. My way of looking at it is, rather than building that flower up as as if China is invincible and all,
Yeah. Yeah.
somehow in our country, nationally, we don't feel happy about it.
Hmm.
We don't have the pride to say we can kick the Chinese back whenever they come, irrespective of missiles, nuclear, all that nonsense. All those don't work on ground, yeah, at 5,000 meters where you can't breathe. Okay,
Yeah.
and today they have stopped doing all that nonsense. And very interestingly, that last thing at Chumar, why I said this. Look, when did that happen? It happens in September 24.
Right.
Okay, October 24, our Prime Minister and Xi Jinping meet in Kazan.
Yeah.
That meet was already fixed. So before our Prime Minister went and met Xi Jinping in October and Kazan, they tried this in September.
Okay.
Whatever they did in Chumar, so that Xi Jinping can meet with can speak from a position of ascendancy,
Position of strength. Yeah.
upper hand. And by
Right.
then, Depsang, they were holding on to Depsang, they were holding on to Demchok. Just think,
Yeah.
if Depsang they held on, Demchok they held on, and they got a foothold at Chumar
Yeah.
in 24, then Xi Jinping would have spoken from a position of strength. Indian Army spoiled that attempt.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they suddenly realized, look, there's no way to get past Indian Army. They were already suffering casualties. And by 24, their economy had started sliding down, their
Right.
demography had started sliding down, and Xi Jinping was unhappy with his generals. He was sacking them left, right, and center.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no results. So what is the best thing to do? Withdraw. and get an accommodation and get a political thing out of saying, oh, we made a thaw with China, India,
Hmm.
and we'll wean them away from USA. The
Yeah,
Chinese are
yeah,
spinning it differently.
right.
Okay. I'm very clear in my mind that overall, militarily, we have pushed them back. And part of this is rubbing on today internally in China.
Hmm.
It has put Xi Jinping and his lot in a great problem. If there's a problem between Xi Jinping and his generals, we have contributed to it. Because Xi Jinping has lost confidence in his generals that they can do anything. I mean, look, from 2017 to now, they have been defeated or they have been nullified in every attempt along the LAC. It might not have caught international imagination, but
Hmm.
they know it, no? Xi Jinping has ordered all this. He knows what has happened. He's not made headway in Taiwan. He's not made headway in the LAC, two most important problems, military problems for him. Will he have faith in his generals? He won't. That is why all this sacking is happening. That's why none of his theater commanders are there, none of his everything are there. We fail to connect these two things up.
Right. That's very important what you say, General Shankar. But I have two questions for you based on this. See, after the Kargil War, 1999, there were stretches of the LOC which were not manned around the year, right? So, while we may have thrown the intruders back, Musharraf and his stooges, we had to kind of, start manning all the heights all across the
Yes.
LOC.
Yeah.
Until now, the until 2020 at least, the LAC was a very quiet and a very peaceful place. I remember going to the LAC before 2020 and going while this standoff was on in September. I remember going there. When I first went there in 10 or 11, I think, it was just vast empty spaces. You could drive for hours without seeing troops. But in September, there were like two Indian Army corps there, like 50,000 soldiers. I mean, I've never seen this mass of soldiers there, and I'm assuming that they continue to be deployed there, but not forward, but at least at the rear. Like, are we prepared to accept this cost? Has he raised the cost for us, Xi Jinping, by forcing us to militarize the LAC, which was a quiet, tranquil border until now? But post 2020, we are now forced to commit resources all along this 3,000-kilometer LAC.
Right. If well, you're looking at that point of view, I'll put it the other way around. We have raised the cost for him. They have not raised the cost for us. We have raised the cost for him. We have not only done this, we have also rebalanced. You see, look at the larger picture. We have rebalanced. We've Our infrastructure is increased. And
Hmm.
let me tell you, the Chinese assessment of India's infrastructure is pretty alarming for them.
Right.
We might feel that our infrastructure is not moving fast enough. But the Chinese think that we are very belligerent, that the balance is shifting, that hereafter they have to be defensive along the LAC.
Hmm.
I'm not talking of my imagination or my assessment. I'm talking of what they have written. And I published it in Gunner Shot. There are
Right.
assessments, Chinese assessments of our road building capability or posture, everything which say now have to adopt a defensive posture.
So the
So
Chinese are
the
saying that we have to be defensive now.
yeah, they have a look. Please, they have a set of defensive lines. One line at 30 kilometers. If Indian troops come up 30 kilometers inside our territory, what do we do? 100 kilometers, what do we do? Response pattern. They
Hmm.
evolved a response pattern. 200 kilometers. They talk of 200 kilometers. Please, this is something you have to understand.
Right.
If Indian troops come 200 kilometers, what do we do? So you have changed the balance, okay, on the LAC. Not many people understand this. It's not, look, on the LAC, it's not missiles which matter,
Right.
okay, not aircraft which matter. The man on ground which matters, firepower matters. 30, 40, 50 kilometers firepower, strength matters, capability matters, logistics matter, all this matters, camouflage matters. There we have an advantage. With increased thing, if earlier there was a disparity in the communications that side and this side, over days that has gap has closed in.
Hmm.
And every day you keep improving your infrastructure along the LAC, the gap is closing because he can't improve his infrastructure anymore.
He's reached
He's
saturation.
built his roads. Huh? Yeah, he's built his roads, he's built whatever he had to do, but what can he do after this? Right? He's built his airfields, he's built his Zeokong villages, or everything. He can do nothing. That gap is being taken up incrementally. Okay, and plus with your own technology coming up, you're going to match him on the LAC with your experience on the LAC, your experience in high altitude. So overall, if you see from 2020, this whole switch started in 2020. The switch started in 2020.
Hmm.
The balance has changed. Where before 2020, the balance was with China. Today, the balance, everything has shifted. So the needle has shifted towards us. And this is not my assessment, huh? This is Chinese assessment. So what we did in 2020, we'll go back to Spanggur Gap and all that.
Yeah, I want to ask you that about the Spanggur, why it
Uh,
matters.
why? Right? Everything changed there.
Hmm.
Everything changed, right? So I think we have to understand this whole story, the larger picture. And in this larger picture, we can switch to what Spangor Gap or whatever you want. You take it
Yeah.
forward. Or
So
okay, no. Let me ask you a flip question.
sure.
In this entire story which I've explained, and what are your views about it?
Well, I fully agree with you on the fact that we've possibly raised the cost for China, but I'm still a little concerned on the fact that uh, for us it is a deployment on two fronts. For him, it's just one front, and his infrastructure is already built up, and I've seen his infrastructure across. It's far more comfortable to for him to operate on that thing. My father has been to Mansarovar, the lake, a couple of years back, and his description was that on our side it's all rocky, you're uphill, you're climbing and all that. The minute you reach him, you're on the plateau, you're just driving for miles together. So I think there is that infrastructure mismatch also. So this part really concerns me. I mean, I completely agree. We've held them to a standstill. We have stood up to the Chinese. I think that's a very big thing. If all these Quad countries, we are the only of the, if whatever is left of the Quad, I think we are the only country that's actually standing up to the Chinese physically, boots on ground. And this is not long range patrols or maneuvering in the sea or something. This is like soldier to soldier, looking at each other in the eye, beating each other up. All of that, physical man to man conflict that exists there on the LAC. Uh, but I largely agree with your assessment. The fact that it is we've kind of held him off there, and we've possibly even raised the cost for him, because then he has to now, like you said, he'll have to start war planning, because if your DSDBO road brings in, I'm not sure what the numbers it can carry. I mean, I guess those are for military minds to decipher the fact that whether you can launch a division thrust through that, or where your mountain strike corps, for instance, if that is being raised, what the objectives of that would be. You'd be worried about that, of course. So if he thought that there would be some quick victories in Ladakh, Arunachal Pradesh, I don't think those victories have come to him. So there, and I think he's resigned to that fact. Now, my only worry is that the Chinese are up to games all the time, and you never know. So the next thing might not be a predictable one. It might be something that takes us by surprise, and I think we have to just anticipate that war game, the contingencies that he might kind of look for. But that said, I want to ask you about the Spangur gap, specifically because a lot of viewers would want to know, what are tanks doing there? Why did we deploy? How did the Chinese counter deploy? Which year did we decide to deploy tanks there? Is this tank country a viable option for commanders on both sides? I'm guessing it is, because that's the reason you have them in such large numbers. And because General Naravne mentioned it in his book as well, that there was a very tense standoff there south of Pangong So, and the Kailash Range and the Spanggur Gap. What is the Spanggur Gap? Why is it so important, significant,
Yeah,
and why are there tanks deployed there?
yeah. Look, this is the area. This is the Spanggur. Wait, let me sorry. This is the Spanggur Lake. Okay.
Yeah,
This area here is the Pangong Tso.
yeah,
This is the south bank of Pangong Tso. This
yeah,
is the Kailash Range.
yeah,
Okay. And this is the road which goes Spanggur Gap. Spanggur. There's a gap here. This gap is called the Spanggur Gap.
yeah. It's about 3 kilometers from what I
Yeah,
remember.
wide. Right. Now, what happens is that any troops coming from here,
Yeah,
okay, can cross this. It's flat terrain. I won't say
right,
completely flat, undulating, but reasonably flat. You can drive through, and once you
right,
cross, this side is Chushul. In fact,
right.
this is the Chushul airfield here.
Airfield. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get in. So you can get in. Equally, it is okay for us also to get in here. So
Okay.
that
Right.
this gap is important. Don't look at it defensively always. This gap is
Right.
important.
Right. Right.
Okay, what did we do in during the Kailash Range operations? Okay, before that. So this gap is important. Hence, this side we have Chushul, which is our major garrison here.
Yeah.
On this side, they have a garrison called Moldo.
Moldo. Right.
Okay. Now, more than this gap, these hills, on the side, there's the Kailash Range, right? They, the Kailash Range dominates Chushul also as Moldo, both
Yeah.
sides. Okay. And this was not occupied during 2020. All the action was north of Pangong Tso,
Right.
not south of Pangong Tso. And for whatever reason that we can discuss.
Yeah.
And we went and occupied this area. The moment we occupied this area, the only place where they could come in or go out was here. And we were threatening Moldo.
Dominating the heights there.
Yeah, we were dominating the heights and we just had to roll. Though it
Yeah.
looks very fearsome out here,
Yeah.
there are places where your tanks can go up
Right.
these hills. Okay. So if you look at it from this point of view, this is other thing. This is Pangong Tso. This
Yeah.
is Spanggur Lake.
Right.
Okay. The action here, this is the south bank of Pangong Tso. This is the
Yeah.
Kailash Range, and this entire thing. The gap in between which you see flat terrain,
Yes.
this is the Spanggur Gap. Moldo is here. Okay, and this is Chushul.
Right.
And our tanks were lined up here, and their tanks were lined up here
Right.
on the gap, and they could fire at each other, right? And this country is like this when you see
Yeah.
from far.
Tank
Okay, this is
country.
of course tank country, right? And this is the way it is. Tanks can move about. Okay,
Yeah.
so that is why uh, things became a little tight out there. Uh, right? That's how it is. This is probably the only place where tanks can operate. Tanks
In
can't
the
operate
entire
north of
Ladakh.
Pangong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
They can't operate north of Pangong.
Pangong Tso not no, they can operate north of Pangong Tso in the Depsang region.
In Depsang, yeah, because that's again, it's a
Not even
plateau. It's plain.
Depsang, not even Depsang. It
Yeah.
is in the DBO region.
Right.
Okay. DBO, after all, there's a airfield and all. There you can operate. But that's going on a limb. The the real crux where tanks can operate is in this area. It's only in this eastern Ladakh, in these two places where tanks can operate. If you leave that,
Right.
then the tanks can. There's only one more place tanks can operate along the entire LAC. They can operate in Sikkim, not Sikkim.
Not Sikkim, right? That's
Okay.
our edge of the plateau, right? We have a
Yeah,
little
our edge
toehold
of
in
the
the.
plateau. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got a. That's the only place where we project into the plateau, the
Right.
Tibetan plateau, right? Tanks can operate there. Otherwise, no tanks anywhere around. It's only these
Right.
three places,
Right.
right? And Spanggur Gap is important, and whatever it is. See,
Yeah.
that's the larger picture, and getting hold of our master stroke was we threatened Moldo. See,
Yeah.
another thing, if you once you threaten Moldo and you take Moldo,
Yeah.
what happens is, like I told you, if you take Moldo, which is
Yeah.
behind
It's
Okay,
about what, 25
when
kilometers behind the LAC, right?
no, hardly you can see it.
Yeah,
25 is it stretches because
right.
their echelons stretch behind. It's hardly 5 6 kilometers that size. You can
Hmm.
see if you go to the border hut, a meeting hut,
Yeah,
right? From there you can see Moldo. I've gone to that border hut. That's why I'm talking to you.
right, right,
But then the thing is, if that is run over, then the next stop is at Naku, 80 kilometers behind.
right.
There's nothing in between. There's a highway going through.
So if
Okay,
we were
there's
to
no
launch an
difference.
armored thrust, it would go through the Spanggur Gap,
Spanggur
it would
Gap.
take Moldo, and then it would go all the way
Go
to
all the way
Naku.
to Naku. Okay, or Nagari as they call it, whichever, whatever
Yeah,
it is, right? So, as much as we are vulnerable, they are also vulnerable. And you see, war is two-sided.
yeah.
In fact, the other way I look at it, the Chushul Heights. I mean, let me show you
Hmm.
this again so that you understand. See here, if suppose they come here, na, you have Chushul Heights. This is one
Yeah,
bridge which this is Chushul Heights. They have to fight through Chushul Heights. Okay.
right.
On the other side, there's nothing behind them. Nothing behind. There's nothing.
Okay.
There's no
There are no
defenses.
heights,
There are
no
no heights
defenses.
behind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
There's no heights behind. So you go through
right.
right up to Nakula. And I must tell you, I had a commander long back who commanded his battalion here in this area, in
Hmm.
Ladakh Scouts. Now I'm now going back in the 70s, 80s. Huh? Old man. He is now 90 plus. I keep speaking to him once in a while. He used to tell me, look, we used to go for hunting out there
Right.
those days.
To Naku
And
or
when we
to Moldo?
Moldo.
Right.
And when we used to go on top of these heights, we could see the highway.
Oh, that G129,
G219.
G219,
G219.
yes. Yeah,
219. He says we could see the highway and there's nothing in between.
right.
I mean I've never seen that because a couple of days when I went there, whenever I went there, I wouldn't say
Yeah.
a couple of days, I'd been there more. Uh, I couldn't see the highway, but
Visibility
I
was
take it
poor. Yeah,
visibility. Yeah, but I take it from my commander who commanded his battalion there,
yeah,
right? That could see. So they're vulnerable. As much as we are vulnerable, they are also vulnerable there. In fact, I thought they're more vulnerable. Okay.
right,
So all this, and that is why that place was important. Okay.
right. That's why it was a hair
So
trigger situation. Yeah,
hair trigger kind of a thing. And in fact, if you overall see, look, we've done so much against the PLA. We sorted them
yeah,
out actually.
yes.
And I find it very funny that we're debating this in the parliament actually.
No, that's the yeah. I think that a couple of lines in General Naravne's book was pulled out, and everybody has been jumping around about that. But I want to ask you about that situation. Where he talks about that hair trigger situation when it came to the Northern Army commander asking the army chief for instructions. He's about to launch an artillery barrage against the tanks that were advancing. There were four tanks, PLA tanks, heading towards the Indian positions on Kailash, and General Naravne asked the political leadership, he asked the NSA, the External Affairs Minister, what are my orders? And the Defense Minister tells him that do what you think is appropriate. आपको जो उचित समझे आप करो. Do you see some kind of ambiguity in this signal message, or the fact that the politicians didn't want to get involved in the situation? Or is it a thing of how Indian political class has always been? They give you the big picture and they ask you to draw the tactical inferences from that. What's your view on
Look,
this?
this situation is very uncommon
You mean
in
the
war,
India-China
like
LAC standoff?
LAC standoffs. Why? You see the standoff in 2017, Doklam. Weapons were not used.
Right.
That whole thing continued in Galwan also.
Yeah.
Whole thing continued in All the clashes, petrol clashes happened, everything, it was fist cuffs, no firing took place. Come this area, that's what I said, belligerent war avoidance.
Right.
They were not prepared to go for a war. They wanted to get the thing without by just belligerence. And I think consciously, both countries wanted to avoid a war because if
Right.
bullets start flying, then
Yeah.
you're looking at war. Next stop is war,
Right.
which
So
so
I have
many
to ask
people
you,
did.
what would have happened if they had actually, if the commanders had decided to fire on those tanks? There was an artillery barrage, for instance. Never happened. I mean, thank God for
Yeah,
that. But if they did, what would be the next steps in the escalation ladder?
escalation. Escalation is you fire, they'll fire, someone will capture, something will happen, people will start firing all around. You're on top in the whole story. If you go and capture Moldo and you throw their garrison out, and it'll become a big issue, and then everything will start off from there.
So it
After
would
that,
have
there's
been
no control.
uncontrollable. You're saying that that would have been an
Yeah, yeah,
uncontrollable
it could have
piece
been.
of
I
situation.
mean, look, I the thing could have gone out of control.
Right.
Okay, thing could have gone out of control. Look, we are talking of two nuclear countries here at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. So you're saying that
Okay.
General Naravne was correct in his calling the political leadership and asking because of these extraordinary circumstances.
See, under normal conditions,
Yeah.
okay, I'll take you somewhere else completely. In the Northeast, when I was
Hmm.
commanding a brigade, there are a lot of militancy in the area. A
Right.
lot of militants used to go around with weapons and in army uniform and all that.
Yeah.
The orders which we got from our commanders and which we implemented on ground was simple. If there's a militant in uniform, not even weapon, if he's in uniform and he's identified as a militant, first shoot him and then talk. And if he's got a weapon, just finish him off. No
Hmm.
talk. Okay, that's the kind of operational freedom we had. And this
Right.
operational freedom was given right down to our company commanders. First, uniform, weapon, drop him dead, and then talk.
Right.
Nothing else.
Shoot first and ask questions later. That kind of
Questions later,
right.
right? But here, you are in a conventional situation where both countries are trying to avoid a conflagration,
War avoidance. Yeah.
war avoidance. Okay, we didn't want to go into war. You're also talking about time when there's COVID around. The whole
Yeah.
country is stuck somewhere. Look at that. We have to look at this, the psychological issues and the general other issues. We could ill afford a war. So could they. They could also not afford it. And they were only everyone was jockeying into good position.
Right.
Because by then I'm very sure when we went on top of the Kailash range, PLA knew they had gone. The only thing they had was do something locally and get back and things like that. The
Right.
little ascendancy which they felt they had after Galwan
Right.
by propaganda, by saying, 20 Indian soldiers died and they said only four. So that thing
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
they built, that propaganda had gone. If you are sitting on top of Moldo and you are at a risk, so they would have tried to fire. They would have tried to push you out. They tried stunts, which we didn't fall for. I think, look, overall, everyone, whether it's the Raksha Mantri, Prime Minister, Chief Mr. Apna, General Naravne, or the Army Commander, the Corps Commander, the Div Commander, and the Battalion Commander, down to the Battalion Commander, Brigade Commander, and the Tank Troop Commander,
Yeah.
I think showed a lot of restraint and maturity in handling this whole story.
Right.
It was well synchronized. And for everyone to ask, what should I do next, is not
Yeah.
out of context.
Hmm.
Here is a situation where you want to avoid war, you don't want to fire. There's no
Yeah.
firing. It's all movement jockeying. If you come to a stage where you have to fire, someone has to tell you, okay, go ahead to fire.
Yeah.
Right? So I think I don't see anything wrong in what happened. In fact, I thought
Right.
everyone acted well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was he was vindicated in all of that. Whatever he did, the
Yeah.
course of action that he followed vindicated his actions, I think.
Yeah,
And you're saying that too much is being made of,
yeah,
we're digging a
this
mountain out of a molehill in this case.
look. Let me tell you, I don't mind saying this. Why are we making a failure out of a success with this kind of a nonsense which we're talking about?
Right.
This kind of a thing shouldn't have been spoken about in the parliament.
Hmm.
It doesn't become well of the leader of the opposition to rake it up. It doesn't seem very good of the government also to respond the way they did.
Yeah.
There's nothing for the government to feel bad about what they did. Why are they trying to be defensive about it in the parliament? And also, I don't know why this whole story came up in that book written by General Naravne. So I think we did so well
Yeah.
as a nation, as an army, as individuals, and why are you trying to now pull each other down?
Right.
If one goes down in this, let me tell you, if either the chief goes down, or the Raksha Mantri goes down, or the
Yeah.
leader of opposition goes down, or the prime minister goes down, or anyone goes down, everyone goes down.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. It's
You can't be a failure when you're successful. Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
suppose this is something which we have to learn. Yeah.
right. No, absolutely. It's a great thought there. I mean, the fact that you said that we're trying to make a failure out of a success, and thanks for putting that whole thing in perspective. That it's not just one little spot on the LAC. It's actually several spots, and those dots. Thanks for connecting those dots, General Shankar, over 2017 on till 2024. And that paints a pattern. I think that's the big picture that you've given us today about what Xi Jinping's motives are on the LAC. And you're absolutely right, because all of this is post Xi. And when I asked your friend General Rawat this in many on-record conversations that we had, he told me that, in his mind, there was no doubt that it was authorized from the very top. He was talking
Yeah,
about a
yeah.
year when the deployments were still on. He said it has to come from the very top. These kind of things are not Western theater commander or,
Oh, no,
at
no,
a
no, no.
local level. This has come from the very top,
No.
and it is meant to teach India a lesson and to, try and intimidate us the way they're doing it with Taiwan and all the other countries that
Yeah,
around their periphery. That's the Chinese way of doing things, and I think it's good that we stood up to them. And I think it's time for us to kind of take credit for what we've done actually in the last
yeah,
couple of years as well with them, to stand up to them and call out their bluff. So with that, if we can take some questions, Jan
yeah.
Shankar.
Why not? Let's take some questions. Okay. First, let me. Thanks a lot, Abhishek, for joining in as a member, and Sundar Krishna also joining as a member. Let's take some questions from the bottom. Because okay, uh, yeah. When General Naravne wants to bring attention is the political leadership has to grasp the consequences of the military action. I don't think so. Your view on this after having a discussion?
Well, I was looking at the pattern of these so-called hot potatoes throughout 1947 and right down to 2020 Ladakh, and what I've seen is that I don't think the political class gets into the nitty-gritty of things, that you have to do this, move forces here, left, right. They will give you the larger, big picture thing that, General, I give you the Indian Air Force in theater in Ladakh, fighter jets for the first time. Please do as you see fit with them. I don't think there would have been any kind of restraining order. So I think what they were talking about is that the tactical stuff, you take a call on it. We back you, whatever you do.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
and
it.
I think he did the right thing. General Naravne did the right thing. General Joshi did the right thing by not opening fire, and they correctly assessed the situation as being something of intimidation, belligerent war avoidance, and they responded,
Yeah,
with four tanks, were met with four tanks, and then that tank standoff continued for another 2 years or so. So I think that's the and General Naravne, of course, knew the consequences, and he was possibly telling the political leadership that. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with that.
Look, I'm not. We don't want to get involved with the controversy, what's happening in the
Yeah,
Lok Sabha and what's happening in the book and all. We need to look at the larger picture,
yes.
right? What about the nuclear weapon testing by the Chinese after Galwan?
This is that report that came out yesterday. The
Yeah,
US is
which has come
out
out.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
US. Yeah. Now, my view is this. This is not connected with the Galwan and all that,
yeah, yeah,
right? See, nuclear tests of this nature wouldn't have happened as a reaction.
yeah.
Because it's a complicated thing to ensure that the thing doesn't get detected, everything, right?
Right.
Uh, this would have been planned from a long time, not a overnight test. This has happened.
Mm.
This is connected with the fact that Xi Jinping believes that a strong nuclear arsenal is the way to go forward. And they've
Right.
had this plan to go up to 1,000 nuclear warheads,
Yeah. They're
combined
already
with,
at about 500.
they are about 600-700 at this point of time,
Right.
right? And that they have to increase their nuclear warheads, and that
Yeah.
they have to, were into a huge missile program of
Mm.
hypersonics and FOB and
Yeah.
all those MIRV and all that plus all those. So those force multiply what you have, and
Mm.
you have to be a strong nuclear power to get the political weight of this to for a situation in a where you are the top man, top dog in the world. That's the thinking, Chinese thinking. So
Right.
this nuclear weapon testing is part of that story. This is not anything to do with this. Of course, this is incidental. Okay.
Right. Right.
But the nuclear testing and all that is to get at par with USA and Russia.
Right.
I don't think it is this at all. I mean, I want your view on this.
No, I think you're absolutely right, Shankar. And we saw that last year in the parade. For the first time, they've shown a triad of nuclear weapons,
Nuclear
all of them
weapons.
capable of reaching the United States,
Yeah.
continental United States. So that's a big problem for the US
Yeah.
because now, for the first time in their history, they have three adversaries, nuclear armed adversaries, pointing weapons at them: North
Yeah.
Korea, China, and Russian Federation. So
That's there.
I
Look,
agree with this.
also that's that side. Here they
Yeah,
have India and USA.
yeah,
And if Iran becomes nuclear, we don't know what's going to happen.
yes. I think that's
That's
why
also
they're trying
going.
to force
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Iranians to give up their nuclear weapons program.
Yeah. Okay. Isn't it time for us to develop deterrence with respect to all our immediate neighbors and future adversaries, both militarily and in gray zone, and place contingency plans in case deterrence fails and be proactive? Yeah. Yeah. Your view.
That's absolutely. I think it's time for us to do that
Same.
because, yeah,
I would put it this way: we already have that deterrence.
yeah,
Let's be very clear. We have that deterrence, so don't worry about it. We have adequate deterrence for all this,
yeah.
so
And I think
right.
in
So don't.
recent months there has been a huge shift in the Indian Army itself. The kind of
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
that's been on is towards
Mhm.
conventional deterrence, and it's not just about deterring nuclear
Yeah,
adversaries, nuclear
we
weapons.
have adequate deterrence, conventional and
Yeah.
nuclear. So, and we have a triad today. Don't
Yes.
forget that. India must ensure there's no border with China. Tibet could be the buffer country. Aksai and others areas should be taken back from China. Yeah, Sundar, this is aspirational. This is in the future.
Yeah.
अभी के लिए तो होगा
Distant
नहीं
future.
ये. A distant future, right? Um, yeah. Sir Zhang Yuxia was appointed in 2022, but there still happened events in 22-24. Do we know whether it was Zhang who directed them, or was it because of Xi's interference? Thoughts, sir? Any ideas? Okay. You see, it's like this. Let me explain. Zhang Yuxia was appointed in 2022 in October. October. Okay, because PLA had failed 20 to 21 in that entire thing, and they were not. PLA was not making any headway in Taiwan, nothing, and the PLA was in a bad shape, and that's why he was brought out of retirement, and being a princeling, he was appointed. And after that, things have not stopped. Even 2022 also they failed December,
Yeah.
24 also they failed. So, and if you, it's not only here, in other places also they have failed. Their equipment started failing in majorly in 23, 24. Nuclear sub went down, DF-17 firing haywire. One nuclear sub went down in Wuhan in the
Yeah.
docks. A lot of things have happened. Okay, there are reports of that aircraft carrier not being in good order in military discipline. It's more in the dry docks than anything else.
Hmm.
So the point is that these frustration with this military has increased with years, and with that, the political thing also overlap. You see, a whole lot of factors, and Zhang Yujia standing up to Xi Jinping have led to this situation which is there in in China. Any views on this?
No, I completely agree, and the fact that this is all directed by Xi Jinping, and it's not his minions who are doing all of this. The larger
Yeah,
directive, again, like in the case of our political class, the larger directive always comes from the top,
from the top.
and there is a pattern of belligerence with all neighbors, and they've figured out their strategy with in that sense the Chinese are very clear sighted in their aims, goals and aims. So these little
Yeah.
things would be like objectives.
Sincere appreciation, Unithan sir. The Atmanirbhar Indians is a fantastic exercise.
Yeah,
Really loved the first two episodes. Eagerly waiting for more down the line. Yeah, yeah.
right.
He
Thank
always
you.
does good work. Yeah, he
Thank
does
you.
good
Thank you.
things. There's no doubt. And Akash, Jai Hind, and good morning. There's one more. Uh, Thanks a lot for your contribution. Respected sirs, please keep bringing more of your invaluable analysis, insights, and reporting to us. Common people will love your heartful and unbiased analysis, commentary, plus reporting. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, please
Sandeep,
tune
over
in
to you for
Saturday
your
mornings,
views.
9 a.m. 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Indian Standard Time for more on General Shankar, because, like I keep saying, that his perspective extends far beyond the range of conventional artillery. it's it's more of a FOBS, if I may call it that, fractional orbital bombardment system that goes spans the globe.
Yeah. But well, thanks a lot. I think you should conclude, Sandeep, and then we'll
Yes,
call it a day.
absolutely. Thank you very much, Jan Shankar. And I like the fact that despite me wanting to begin with asking the book, because I had the newsman's thing, I wanted to straight away ask you about the Spanggur Gap and General Naravne's book. But I think you started by giving us the big picture, the macro, and then zooming to the micro to talk about the larger strategy of, and this is a great line, and I must tell our viewers that General Shankar used this for the first time in 2020 when this actually happened. Belligerent war avoidance is the strategy that they had adopted, and I think that came out when you studied the dispositions of their deployment, and you said that they were not dug in for a sustained conflict. They hadn't
Sustained.
come there to. It was just they were backstopping their multiple thrusts with two armored, I think it was two infantry, motorized infantry divisions that they had deployed there. So it was just a heightened pattern and very different from previous years. And this is Xi Jinping's strategy for India. And I think we have done well to stand up to it. And like you so correctly put it, that it's a victory for us if you look at it. There's no two ways about it. If you have prevented him from realizing his objectives, then it is a victory. You've held him off on the LAC, you've stood up to him. Um, the only the only quad member to actually face off with China and continue to do so along 3,000 kilometers. So the end state for him is that he realizes there is going to be no easy victory for him along the LAC, and he can continue doing what he wants to. He will have to continue deploying in as many numbers as we need to. So we've kind of held him off there to a standstill. But fascinating conversation as always, Jan Shankar. I want to thank you, or for taking out your time and giving us your thoughts like this. And we'll come back to you next Saturday again, same time, 9 a.m. Indian Standard Time. There's lots happening, so do stay tuned in, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe to Gunners Shot, and of
And
course
Chakra.
Chakra News. Thank you very much,
Right.
sir.
Thanks a lot.
Have a great weekend.